Phil Spencer agrees with the scrutiny over the Activision Blizzard deal. So as we know, a $70 billion deal is going to come under a ton of scrutiny when it comes from the competition committees as to whether this deal is going to hurt the industry, is going to hurt competition, is going to hurt consumers, all of that type of stuff. So it is very normal for them to look into what is going on. And we have seen some of the arguments mainly brought forth by PlayStation. And a lot of people have looked at these arguments and kind of laughed at them, basically because of what PlayStation has done throughout their entire lifespan when it comes to video games. Even right now, when you're taking a look specifically at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, some of the exclusive stuff within Call of Duty, where they are hoping that when Activision Blizzard is a part of Xbox, if this deal does go through, that there will be content parity, when right now they aren't even doing that. But Phil Spencer had to comment on this, and he is saying right now that the scrutiny for this deal is something that is warranted. So Phil Spencer was in an interview with the Wall Street Journal. There's a 30-minute video. He says a lot of interesting stuff when it comes to the Xbox business. And one of the things that he did comment on was the ongoing investigations with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, saying that it is fair and warranted. He says here, it might be surprising people, but I'm not an expert on doing $70 billion deals, but I do know that we're very focused on getting approval in the major jurisdictions, and I'm spending a lot of time in Brussels, London, and with the FTC here in the US. I would say the discussions have been very fair and honest. It is a big acquisition, there's no doubt. Microsoft, in its role in the tech industry, is a large tech company, and I do think the discussion around an acquisition of this size is warranted, and I've appreciated the time to go spend. So from Phil Spencer's perspective, the stuff that they have been discussing right now about this deal and its effect on the industry, its effect on consumers, has been fair and honest. I think from a consumer and gamers perspective, a lot of people commenting on what is going on right now are just kind of confused at some of the stuff that PlayStation is bringing up, because we know that PlayStation does the exact same thing that they are hoping doesn't happen if Activision Blizzard becomes a part of Xbox. And at the end of the day, these market authorities, they take 5 seconds to look at what PlayStation does when it comes to exclusivity, when it comes to content parity, when it comes to things like initially wanting to block crossplay. Like, one of the biggest things that I think is actually really, really bad, and this may not be a PlayStation thing, but I'm assuming it is because it is only on PlayStation. The crossplay toggle right now we are seeing is not available on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when it comes to Xbox and PC, but it is available on the PlayStation platform. And I'm guessing PlayStation, because they have the marketing rights, was something that they implemented with their negotiations with Activision for Call of Duty. So those are the things that gamers are looking at and kind of flabbergasted as to why there is such a deep investigation into this, from the perspective that PlayStation is bringing arguments forward that just don't make any sense because they literally do the same thing. But he continues on here and says, we're really focused on getting the deal approved in the markets. I'm confident in that. I was in London last week, continue to have discussions with all regulatory boards, and remain confident that we'll get the deal approved. And as we know with Xbox and PlayStation, they're keeping Call of Duty on the platform. They've said it multiple times, makes business sense to keep it on the platform. And I don't think they are going to go against that if this deal does go through. I mean, they've mentioned it multiple times. He says here, our plan is that Call of Duty specifically would be available on PlayStation, which is what you're asking about. But then I think about our plans. I'd love to see it on Switch and playable on many different screens. Even Phil Spencer even expands on bringing Call of Duty over to the Switch. Now, I don't see that as something that's too crazy, because Call of Duty has been on the Nintendo platform. It was big on the Nintendo Wii, and then it was also on the Nintendo Wii U, and then on the previous platforms as well, the previous generations of Nintendo. But then it wasn't there on the Nintendo Switch. There hasn't been a Call of Duty since Ghosts on the Nintendo Wii U. I always get that mixed up thinking it was Black Ops, but it was Call of Duty Ghosts on the Nintendo Wii U as the last Call of Duty on a Nintendo platform. And you think about Call of Duty Mobile, they probably could just give a version of Call of Duty Mobile to the Nintendo Switch, and then they have access to just so many more people who will be jumping in. So I would not be surprised if they do that sometime in the future. So Microsoft, Phil Spencer, Xbox, they think the discussions from the authorities is very normal around a $70 billion acquisition. And honestly, that does make sense. $70 billion, it is a huge acquisition. It is a game-changing acquisition when it comes to the video game industry. Activision Blizzard, one of the biggest companies out there when it comes to video games. They make the biggest video game pretty much every single year in Call of Duty in terms of sales and the amount of money that it makes. Yes, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, but the arguments that PlayStation brings forward, if only they held the same beliefs when it came to their platform. And I think it's really being highlighted right now with the exclusive stuff that is available on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 that isn't available to Call of Duty players on other platforms, which just kind of puts a divide within the community. And as a video game, that is not what you want. So going forward, I hope Xbox doesn't do what PlayStation is doing when it comes to Call of Duty. I hope that content parity is there if this deal does go through, because I think that will just benefit gamers as a whole. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Phil Spencer's comments on the scrutiny right now with the Activision Blizzard deal? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.